You know, whether you're building a new Glock slide or maybe just adjusting the one that you currently have, one thing is for sure, you are going to require some sort of sight pusher. Whether that's a nice precision tool like this, or you beat the living heck out of your slide with a punch and a hammer. And no matter how careful you are going to mar up, make marks, nick it, break it, potentially damage it, and that's just not good. So we're going to talk more about this awesome sight pusher coming up next. Alright, so what we have here is our friends over at Accucraft have sent us over this sight pusher to bring you guys and to talk about, and I am here to say that I've used a few other sight pushers in the past, and honestly, I mean, some of them, especially the really cheap ones, can be a little disastrous. Not very fluid, things like that. Well, not the case with the Accucraft. Everything on this is very precision built. It is definitely something that, you can just see the quality, the fine threading, the, fluid motion of everything on this is just incredible. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go over how to go ahead and use this Accucraft, and we're going to talk about a few things along the way. First thing that you are going to need, obviously, is a Glock slide with, some sort of sight on it, or lack of, right, to be able to push your sights on. Now, some people would say, man, why would I need this? Well, you may not be like the most, I don't know, crazy gung-ho sight person per se. However, a lot of us like to change out our sights, or we like to adjust them so that the gun itself is actually shooting right where we want it to shoot. By moving this rear sight here, we can actually change the point of impact, right? So we want our guns to be accurate. Now, while this slide is cut for an RMR, it doesn't mean that we potentially don't want to use our sights if, for instance, our armor battery's dead, or we just don't have one on there, right? So, anywho, getting back to this. So, how this works is we're going to remove these two top caps. They come with some washers, which is nice. And the first thing I want to talk about, we're going to separate this. We're going to talk about this part first. And what we're looking at here is the type of pusher here. You can see how this lines up to push this sight. Now, some sights are square. You could move that around and use the square side to push a square sight, or even a front sight. Some of the front sights that are removable, like by pushing them, you would use this this edge here as opposed to this edge here, which would put an uneven pressure onto the slide itself. The next piece that we have here is the height adjustment pad, and this is really well built out of aluminum. It is, if you notice, there's a notch in this, and the reason that is this flat edge works for Glock, but you can actually use this for other guns besides Glocks. You can push a Beretta slide, for example. So that is cut out so that it sits around the cap of a Beretta slide. All right, so awesome idea. I'm glad that they did that. Super well quality build. Fine tooth, we talked about this, their fineness, their adjustability. I have not had to oil this at all, and it is just working great. No issues whatsoever. It does have inch and millimeter markings on it. So, and you can clearly see the indicators so that it lines up perfectly. So you know if you want to push this over, say, a 1/4 mil or a 1/2 mil or an 1/8 of a mil or whatever you want to do, you know that you're going to be able to do incremental pushes on that. The bottom plate here we're going to talk about next has some very nice defined lines in it, and you know that is not for that is not for visual aesthetics. That is to be able to line your sight up or your slide up. So what you do is you move these dials in here until your slide is sitting straight into the bottom of the pusher here. Then we simply snug up these retainers. You don't have to go overboard, guys. I mean, just a good finger snugging is more than enough. At that point, we can put our, well, we got to move our sight back just a tad. What I generally do is I kind of line this up, drop that on, then I just cinch these up. So that way, you know, we can make sure that we're in alignment this way with the sight pusher. Then obviously we talked about this elevation adjustment here. We can elevate this to go higher or lower so that we are in fact you know, going to make contact with the slot or the sight itself and not the slide. The last thing that you would want to do would be to have this hit your slide and then start cranking on it, because you're going to damage that slide. So we want to visually inspect that yes, we're on a good plane. You can see that the edge of the pusher is lined up perfectly with the sight, right? So we've got our height good. Now that we've got everything aligned, we can put our washers back on top, and then we can cinch down our top apparatus. Now, once again, guys, finger tight, finger tight. You start cranking on this, you're going to put pressure on this center and you could damage your slide. I've seen some people that tape their slides. I just haven't personally found that it damages it, but I will say if you are in the least bit concerned about that, absolutely run some painter's tape over your slide. Alright, now that we're at this particular point, we can simply take our tool and apply pressure to one side, and we can push our slide or our sight right out of place. See how simple that is? So for YouTube, I am not changing anything other than the sight on a piece of metal. This is not a firearm. And then we can certainly just push the sight, the new sight, to wherever we want to go. I'm going to look at it real quick as I'm going along. You notice that I'm kind of eyeballing it. If this was a fresh sight, that's how I would do it. And then we'll get it right into the middle. Once we're done with that, then we can simply take our top bolts off. Whoops, I just dropped it on the floor. Quality build product, not a mark on it. No bolts were harmed in the making of this. No Glocks were harmed either. And then we can simply take our frame right out. Now you can see on this frame, I had it clamped in, clamped down the sides. There is absolutely no marks on that frame whatsoever, right? Or that slide. So there you have it. The Accucraft. I am so excited to have this. You know, one thing is, you know, if you are a handgun enthusiast and you've got friends that are also, you know, going to a gunsmith to have him push on a new set of sights. You know, some of these sights can be expensive enough as they are, but you know, here's the thing. They can take that sight and they can you know, push it on for you, and then you might find that it's shooting a little off to the left or the right. You know, listen, I'm not claiming that, you know, they're super adjustable or anything like that, but it absolutely is the truth. So if you go to a gunsmith and you buy the sights from him and then you have him push them for an extra $50 to $100, depending upon what his day's like, you know, and then you get home and you're like, I wish it was over just a tad more. Well, go back and do that. So for the same amount of money that it would cost you to have somebody do it once, maybe twice, you could buy yourself a quality piece of tooling and you could start doing this yourself, right? A lot of us don't necessarily want to pay somebody to do something as simple as this, and this tool is going to make all the difference. And then on top of that, you could charge your friends to do it, because everybody has a Glock, or everybody's got a Beretta, everybody's got a reason that you need a sight pusher. So with that being said, check them out, Accucraft. There'll be a link in the description down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and till next time, I'm Moose. This is Just a Bit Outside, and we'll see you guys soon. God bless.